Hello and welcome to BUNKUM. My name's Anthony and today we're playing the visual novel Playdead. Let's have a look and see what this game has in store for us. Let's dig in. So here we are with Playdead. This is the first one in the series. There's been a new one released within the last week, I think it was. But the first one was released back in 2020. I'd not actually seen it before, but because of the new one being released, I thought I'd have a quick look at Playdead, the first one. So I think it's going to be an episodic thing, all done in renpy, so visual novel. And it relates to these four people that are apparently in a band, but they've also got a dead dog. I'm not sure how much of this will be legitimate horror. I've not really tried to read too much into it. I know some of the blurb around it, but that's about it. So I'm going to dive in and give this a try and see what this has in store. But it looks amazing.
I told you we should have checked the oil before we left.
It's not the oil, it's the radiator, jackass.
Well, if you know so much about cars, then why don't you fix it?
Do I look like a fucking mechanic to you?
Well, with all those tattoos.
You leave my tattoos out of this, or I swear to God, I will shave your dumb shit hipster beard in your sleep.
You wouldn't dare.
I love the imagery, the graphic, the hand-drawn artistry in this is phenomenal. I love the little touches to it, like the speakers either side of the dialogue.
Try me.
That's cool. I absolutely swung my baseball cap around to face backwards, ignoring my bandmates bickering as I walked down the crumbling road, holding my phone in the air in search of a modicum of a cell service. Brian and Savannah had been at it for the best part of 20 minutes while staring at the streaming mess of mechanics under the hood of the van. It's not an old van, per se, but it's not new either, and it's taken a beating from being dragged all over the country by a quartet of irresponsible 20-somethings. Oh, before I get too far into this, hi, I'm Corey, and I'm the pop-punk band... I'm in a pop-punk band called Stop Thief. Interesting name for a band. Oh. I thought I'd suddenly... gone on to Chrome then. That threw me. We're what you might call up and coming, which means we're super broke and basically homeless, and our families question our life choices a lot. But sometimes people say that they like our music and that makes us happy. Anyway, we're called something else originally, but then this whole thing happened. Ever since, life on the road has been weird, to put it mildly. I finally stopped about 100 feet up the road, taking in our surroundings. There were woods to one side, with large pine trees looming over the cracking pavement, and a deep ravine to the other. Fog was settling over the valley, obscuring the mountains in the distance. I thought we were somewhere in West Virginia, but I'd been in the middle of a pretty great nap when the van broke down, so wasn't sure. I didn't see any road signs around to confirm or deny my suspicion, and Google Maps is pretty useless without a cell tower nearby. It was then that I realised something was off. There were only 3 of us standing on the side of the road like idiots, not 4. Still got a missing person.
Hey guys, where's Caleb?
Savannah and Brian hit pause on their argument.
I thought he was in the van.
She walked round the van, flinging open the sliding door and poking her head inside.
Shit.
Don't tell me he ran off somewhere.
Brian sighed, scratching his beard.
There's probably bears or something in these woods.
Savannah had now climbed into the van and was frantically searching under the seats and behind the suitcases, muttering curses.
We should probably look for him. Hey, Savannah, see if there's any flashlights in there. I think I stashed 1 or 2 in that box behind the back seat.
Look at you, thinking ahead.
I begin crawling into the van to help Savannah.
Well, some has to be the adult supervision here.
Brian only grunted in response, thankfully not commenting on the fact that he was, in fact, older than me. Just as I pulled the second of the 2 flashlights out of the cardboard box buried under Caleb's guitar case, there was a scream and the loud thud of something hitting the van from outside. Savannah and I rushed out to find Brian sitting on the ground next to the tire.
Fucking shit, Caleb! Don't sneak up on me like that!
Oh, Caleb, you mischievous fellow. Caleb, who was standing over him with a mildly startled look, started to laugh.
Man, you really jumped high. Were you trying to get over the hood of the van?
Never mind him. Where were you? You can't just run off like that. Who knows what's out there?
Okay, yeah, but I found something cool.
It's worth noting that Savannah, despite hating pretty much everyone, especially Brian, has a weird siblingy affection for Caleb that she has for no one else. I'm guessing it's because they grew up together, but also I've met kindergartners with a higher degree of maturity and impulse control than Caleb, so someone has to watch out for them.
Oh,
Him.
yeah? Where?
In the woods.
Oh no, we're not going in there.
It's a house, though. There might be people there we can ask for help.
Brian, Savannah, and I exchanged looks.
Well, it's worth a shot.
Is it, though?
I sighed and began following Caleb into the forest, clicking on a flashlight.
Just come on.
I love the imagery of this. It's cool. And the audio is phenomenal. They've done a fantastic job of the audio in this. It is really kooky. I like the sort of the mischievous nature as Caleb was introduced and he started playing tricks on Brian. We wandered through the sparse underbush, something I chalked up to the thick tree cover. It was reaching dusk outside of the woods, but inside it might as well have been midnight. I wouldn't have been able to find 5 feet in front of my face without the flashlight. It was also strangely quiet. No animal cries, no insects buzzing, no leaves rustling. Even our footsteps were muffled by a soft greenish-brown moss that coated the ground.
This is eerie as shit. We should go back.
Nah.
What? Are you scared?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I am. You probably should be too.
We're almost there.
That's a nice little cabin in the woods. Nothing could go wrong in here. Pretty much as soon as he said it, a structure came into view. It was a log cabin, 2 stories, with a front porch and what looked like remnants of a driveway leading up to it. There were no lights on inside.
Who puts a houseway out here anyway?
I was thinking the same thing.
Someone who doesn't want to be bothered, probably.
Someone like me?
Then maybe, I don't know, we shouldn't bother them?
No, probably not.
And what? Hitchhike to the nearest town?
I'd rather take my chances with that.
Are you sure there's even someone in there?
Yeah, I definitely saw someone moving around through the window.
Sorry, I clicked too quick then. Sorry. She did say something else about the house. Something else about the house being abandoned. Before any of us could protest, Caleb had jogged up to the porch and was knocking on the door. When he got no response, he knocked harder.
Hey, anyone home?
Caleb, stop that. You're gonna get us.
Brian abruptly fell silent when the door swung open with a creak. We peered inside at the dark, empty room beyond.
Huh. I guess it was open.
It doesn't look like anyone's home.
Maybe they're upstairs. Come on.
He's brave. He waltzed through the door with no hesitation whatsoever.
Caleb! You can't just wander into other people's houses!
The door was open.
He quickly disappeared from sight into the dark house. The remaining 3 of us let out a collective groan and followed him inside. Ooh, what's going to happen?
I really don't think anyone's home.
Yeah, somebody definitely lives there. I thought it was going to end up being abandoned. Savannah ran her finger through the thick coating of dust on the nearby bookshelf. The place smelled musty, with notes of old people and roadkill.
Then why is there still so much stuff here? It looks like someone left all of a sudden.
I wandered into the kitchen.
Ugh.
Is that rotten food?
What?
Brian walked up behind me.
Ew.
It's rotten food, isn't it? Yeah. On the table was something that looked like it had once been a bowl of fruit that had since decomposed into a pile of dusty goop. There was a handful of dead flies around it.
What do you think happened to the people that lived here?
They died. Savannah entered the kitchen and began to open the cabinets. She wrinkled her nose as she peered into one below the counter.
Ugh, gross. Dead rat.
Boo, poor rat. She then made a movement as if to smack a fly on her arm, but looked confused when she pulled her hand away and nothing was there. Must have missed it. She shut the cabinet, then flung it open again, looking inside.
What the?
What?
I thought I heard something. And the rat's gone.
Ooh.
The dead one?
I mean, I thought it was dead. It was skin and bones and wasn't moving.
Is it a zombie?
Maybe it was napping?
I guess?
I feel like this is the part where we find a body. Like, a human one.
Please don't say that.
Ooh, let's find a body.
Hey, I'm just being...
Brian was cut off by a sharp scream and a thump from upstairs. We exchanged panicked looks before scrambling up the stairs to where we heard Caleb's yell. We rushed into the bedroom, fists up, where Caleb was sitting on the floor and staring wide-eyed at something.
What is it? What happened?
Is it the dog? Oh, it's a dead dog. Brian suddenly took a step backwards, pointing to something on the end of the bed.
What the hell is that?
It's a dead dog.
I think it's a dog.
It is.
Or it was.
The pile of bones curled up on the end of the bed was vaguely canine-shaped and still had a bit of dried, dusty skin sticking to it. There was a dark stain on the blanket underneath, and a faded red collar hung around its skeletal neck. Or skeletal neck. Skeletal?
It just got left behind?
At this point, Caleb had recovered as well, and was standing back and wandering closer to the creature.
Well, don't touch it.
But that's kind of sad, isn't it?
It
The
is.
little guy must be waiting for his master to come home.
Okay, yes, it's sad. Can we please leave now? Obviously, we're not getting any help from this place.
Yeah. For once, I actually think Brian's right. Let's...
Oh. As Savannah, Brian and I began to file out of the room, I glanced back at Caleb, who didn't appear to be following.
Caleb, you coming?
Huh? Oh, yeah.
He quickly spun round to face me and began to follow. I thought I saw him shove something in his pocket, but didn't think anything of it at the time. Oh, what's he up to? That was a mistake. We paraded back down the stairs and re-entered the living room.
This place is super weird.
Are they going to find a phone or anything? Savannah shuffled her feet onto the dingy carpet. It was a little too soft and squishy, rotted kind of way.
I think weird is an understatement.
Let's just go back to the van.
We began walking towards the door. Look for a phone! Suddenly, it slammed shut, blocking our escape route.
What the fuck?
A strong wind picked up in the room, blowing dust and loose decor everywhere. A strange noise could be heard behind the gale. It sounded like barking.
What the hell is this?
Savannah yelled over the wind, shielding her face from the flying debris.
How should I know? Shit!
My baseball cap blew off my head and joined the items twirling around the room. I grabbed at it, but missed. Don't lose your cap, dude. Oh, there you go. Ghost dog. Instead, it flew in a different direction and hovered over the floor. As if the wind died down, something else slowly came into focus where the hat was hovering. It was somewhat transparent, appeared to be pale bluish colour, and had 4 paws, a wagging tail, and a muzzle wrapped around the bill of its of the cap. it is.
I think it was a dog.
I remained still, wide-eyed gazed, fixed on the incorporeal canine.
You did not. Just take my hat.
The dag wagged its tail a little harder. I pointed at the ground.
Drop it. Now.
The dog crouched down in a playful stance.
I mean it, Mutt. Drop the hat.
I took a step forward. The dog hopped side to side a bit, tail wagging so fast that it was a little more than a blur. With a war cry, I launched myself at the dog, who deftly leapt out of the way and took off, running with the hat.
Stop, thief!
Now I know this seems like a bit of an overreaction for a hat, but, well, first of all, it was my favourite hat. It's well worn to the point where there are tears forming around the edges of the bill, where I didn't want to exaggerate. I didn't want exasperated by. I can't even say the word exasperated by the ghost slobber. Second, the hat is just my thing. I feel naked without it. It's a long story. Don't ask questions. I can empathise with that.
Should we stop him?
Yes. Brian tried to follow with the movement as the dog quite literally flew past him, with me close behind.
I don't really know what to do. There's not exactly a precedent for the situation.
I made a dive for the dog and nearly crashed into a coffee table. Caleb, meanwhile, was laughing gleefully at the display. I finally managed to corner the mutt in the kitchen against the cabinets. It hopped back and forth, playfully wagging its tail again. I made a grab for it, and the dog jumped right through me. Honestly, I don't know what else I expected. The good news is that the hat was, in fact, a physical object that existed in our reality and did not pass through with the dog. Instead, it harmlessly smacked me in the chest before falling to the ground. I snatched it up before the mutt could make it back and ran back to the living room.
All right. Crisis averted. Let's get out of here before I have to process what just happened.
Wouldn't you be a little bit more freaked out if something like this had happened? Because it's not every day you come into contact with a ghost dog. So you would have thought there'd be a bit more... But hey-ho. I made a beeline for the door, grabbed the handle, tried to turn it, and couldn't. I tried jiggling it again, then tried to turn the lock. It wouldn't budge.
Oh, come on!
Savannah peered out the window, squinting a bit.
Hey guys, don't look now, but I think someone just came home.
Oh, nuts. Completely disregarding her advice, we all gathered around the living room window where an ancient pickup truck had just appeared in the driveway. Its back fender appeared to have rusted off, and there was a large crack in the windshield. A figure was getting out of it, though it was hard to make out any detail in the dark.
What do we do? We can't just stay here.
You can explain it away, surely.
Well,
Be
the door's
fine.
locked, so I don't know where you expect us to go.
I said this despite frantically searching for an exit myself. Then there was the sound of a key entering the lock from outside, and we all froze. Oh. Wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure I would describe the thing that entered the house as human exactly. It might have been once, but now not so much. It resembled an old man, but sported dry, greyish skin pulled tightly over bones, and was covered in dirt and fungus. Its clothes, meanwhile, were rotted to the point where they were practically fused to the skin. Most noticeably, the thing was missing most of the left half of its face, a hole-filled black slime and mushrooms taking its place. The remaining eye socket was dark and empty, and a powerful stench of rot and decay emanated from the creature. None of us moved. None of us even breathed. The presumably undead man shuffled into the house. A hoarse whistle escaped its dry lips. I noticed the ghost dog was still around, albeit cowering under the table with its tail tucked between its legs. The mushroom-covered zombie shuffled towards the kitchen, leaving the door open behind him. I gave Savannah, Brian and Caleb a meaningful look indicating the door. They all nodded slightly and trying not to make any sudden moves. I put up 3 fingers and began counting down. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. 3, 2, 1. The undead creature suddenly turned with surprising speed, lunging in our direction with a raspy howl. Ow. Savannah, ever the quickest on her feet, smashed a vase over its head, knocking it off balance long enough for the forest to make it out of the door in what felt like one giant leap. We hit the porch. And proceeded to crash through the woods, stumbling over tree roots and kicking up clumps of moss along the way. Finally, we erupted back out. Finally, we erupted back out onto the road. The van still sitting right where we left it. Savannah panted as she spun around, scanning the trees.
What the actual fuck was that?
I don't know. But mushrooms are now completely off the table as a pizza topping.
I leaned over with my hands and my knees to catch my breath.
Let's just get back in the van.
Good idea.
What? Our van that doesn't go anywhere? What if that thing comes out here?
Do you have a better idea?
I don't know. Start walking?
To where? Do you even know where we are?
Pennsylvania? Probably.
Yeah, that inspires confidence.
Guys? Look.
Is it the dog? He pointed down the road where 2 pinpricks of light were visible and growing larger.
Oh God. What if it's that rusty pickup? It could be that monster!
Is it the dog? Is it the dog? Is it the dog? As the vehicle got closer, it turned out that it was, in fact, a pickup truck, but a much newer one than the dilapidated jalopy in the woods. The driver was stocky, bearded 30-something, with a wad of chewing tobacco under his lip, and not only stopped, but offering to take a look at our van after Caleb ignored Brian's protests and waved him down. As he poked around under the hood, we were informed that we were a few miles outside of Wheeling, West Virginia, which was admittedly fairly close to the Pennsylvania border.
It ain't your radiator. It's this belt came loose.
Oh. The man pointed at the innards of the van, as if any of us knew what we were looking at.
Let me get some tools out of my truck. I'll get you fixed up.
Oh, coolio. We breathed a collective sigh of relief and agreed to stop in town and blow what little money we had on a couple of hotel rooms for the night. The man chatted idly as he worked on the van.
It's probably best you don't hang around these parts anyway.
Why?
There's a legend about this mountain. Says that this forest don't like things living in it. Especially people. And anyone that tries, well, they wind up cursed. Existing in a state between life and death.
Makes sense. He paused, scratching his beard with a greasy hand.
That's the wives' tale. Anyways, try not to lollygag around here myself.
The man was true to his word and had the van up and running in about half an hour. Brian almost cried, I think. He let us follow him into the city, and I almost cried when my phone started picking up service again. Finally, we pulled up to a cheap motel, which, believe it or not, is better than sleeping in the van, and I, for one, was exhausted. That was when I heard it. A soft woof. Sorry, my eyesight isn't great. A soft woof from the back of the van. Savannah, Brian and I turned around in our seats to face Caleb, who appeared to be trying to hide something behind him.
Caleb, what do you have?
Oh, dude.
Nothing. Oh, what would make you think there was anything hiding behind my back right now?
Caleb, do not make me come back there.
No, really, it's nothing. Completely insubstantial, I assure you.
Before I could respond, the thing behind Caleb's back revealed itself by passing right through his chest and jumping up onto the floor next to Brian. The ghost dog looked at Savannah and I and let out a short bark, wagging its tail. My reaction was slow. One moment I was staring dumbfounded at the dog, and the next I was shouting incoherently, pointing in its general direction while frantically waving my other arm.
Why? How? What the fuck is that thing doing here?
Well, I think it's probably because I took this.
What was it? Did it take the collar? No, dude. Caleb held up a faded red collar.
It must have been what was keeping him trapped at the house.
Caleb! Why would you take that with you?
I don't know, I just do things sometimes. You know that.
That doesn't mean you can just steal things from haunted houses. Or any houses.
Okay, well, unless you want to take it back.
Oh, fuck no. We're not going back there.
Then I can keep him?
Keep what?
But the dog?
No, absolutely not. We're not keeping a ghost dog.
But where else is he going to go?
He gestured towards the dog, who had a ghostly blue tongue lolling out of one side of its mouth.
I don't know. Drop him off at the animal shelter or something? Savannah, will you please talk some sense into him?
Savannah, meanwhile, was rubbing her chin, giving the dog a strange look.
Well, it's not like we have to feed it or anything.
Good point.
Or let it out. I mean, it is dead.
Caleb's face lit up, while mine sunk.
Brian, what about... Brian?
Where's he gone? Brian was passed out in the seat next to the dog. Turns out he'd fainted as soon as he saw it. I pointed at our unconscious bassist.
I feel like that counts as a no from him.
Oh, it's a 50-50 split then.
His opinion doesn't matter even when he's awake. Just let him keep the stupid dog.
I'll take good care of him.
Caleb, do you remember that caterpillar you picked up and wanted to keep as a pet on the last tour?
Sort of.
Do you remember what happened to it?
It turned into a butterfly?
No.
Oh, no.
It sat on it.
Oh, that caterpillar.
Yes, the one that's dead now. And also the reason you shouldn't have pets.
But he's already dead. I can't make it worse.
The dog yawned and laid down on the floor of the van.
I'm sure there's a way.
Oh, knock it off. We're keeping the dog for now.
Savannah finally shut the van off and moved to get out.
Let's get some sleep already. I'm beat.
Good idea.
What? Why do you get to decide?
Because I have all our money and the keys to the van. So you don't have a lot of leverage.
As I slid out of the driver's seat and into the parking lot, I opened my mouth to retort, then shut it again, climbed out of the van and followed her to the check-in desk. The following evening, we sat inside a tiny green room at a tiny venue in some town I can't remember the name of. Oh, that looks nice. There, I stared at the dead dog in the corner with mild agitation. The thing vanished every time someone other than the four of us entered the room, so at least we hadn't had to explain it to anyone else yet. The adrenaline from the night before had worn off, and I had slept a little too well, so I was fighting the weird drowsiness that follows that, and didn't have it in me to stay mad.
So what do we call it?
Bob.
Huh?
The dog. What's its name?
Oh. Well, the tag on the collar is so worn that I can't read it, but I was thinking of calling him Thief.
No!
Thief? Why Thief?
He pointed at my hat. Oh, yeah.
Technically, you came up with that.
I glanced upwards and pulled the hat farther down on my head.
Yeah, okay, that's fitting.
Just then, I was struck with a flash of brilliance.
Hey, Savannah. You know how we were thinking of changing the band name because we found out that Bottleneck is also the name of that weird country rap group?
Yeah? Why?
I think I have a new one.
She raised an eyebrow.
Go on.
Don't I get any input on this?
No. What is it, Corey?
I grinned and told her. She considered it for a moment, then nodded.
Okay. Let's try it out.
I was smiling ear to ear as I jogged out on stage, waving to the crowd before launching into the first song in our set. After finishing it, I put a foot up on my monitor and looked out over the crowd of people occupying the small venue.
Now, I know you guys might have seen a band called Bottleneck on the bill tonight. But let's be honest, most of you haven't heard of us anyway, because you're all here to see the headliners. Am I right?
A slightly hesitant, confused cheer came from the crowd. I saw some shrugs in the first few rows.
Okay. That being the case, we're just going to go ahead and change the name.
I took a step back, adjusting my hat.
We are Stop Thief, and we're here to start this party.
So there's how we got our new name, I guess. Thief had been tagging along with us for a few weeks now, since Caleb won't let it out of the let go of that damn collar. I guess it's not so bad. He's not so hard to take care of, seeing as he doesn't eat or anything. As long as you keep him entertained, he usually won't destroy anything. He did get hold of Brian's favourite boxers one day, though, and, well, let's just say Brian doesn't have a favourite pair of boxers anymore. Ever since the incident with the abandoned house, though, we seem to have developed a habit of getting involved in some pretty strange stuff. Like, there was this thing living in the basement at the venue in Chicago. I don't really know how to describe it. It had, like, tentacles? Or spider legs? Might have been closer to spider legs. Anyway, there was also this band we opened for in boys like I'm not saying they were vampires, but they were definitely vampires. They refused to come out of their bus until after dark, and I saw one knock back a bottle of this weird red stuff before going on stage. It could have been ketchup, but honestly, that would have been even weirder. And their singer, I mean, aside from the fact that he had fangs, he was just, I don't know, a weird dude. There was also a truly bizarre. There was also that truly bizarre stuff with the payphone in the green room in Phoenix. I'm still pressing that one. Did you know that they still had payphones? Neither did the venue owner. Caleb almost got talked into joining a cult in Alabama, but we managed to bail him out before he got turned into a ritual sacrifice for some strange deity. Oh, and I'm like 90% sure that the promoter in New Orleans was a werewolf. Or maybe it's just I'm just paranoid about hairy guys now. Or maybe I'm just mad because we didn't get paid what I thought we were. And frankly, those aren't even some of the weirdest stories. We're in between tours now and everyone's home, which is why I have some free time to write all this down. We're going back out soon because none of us want to get any real jobs, and honestly, I'm getting really bad. Get a really bad feeling that our misadventures are far from over. End? Oh, that was so cool. I loved it. That was really, really cool. I probably need to play this on a bigger screen. I do have a bigger screen, but I'm not using it. I found it a bit difficult to read that, hence my really bad reading throughout the fruition of that game, so apologies for that. But that was cool. I love the kooky humour. It was fun. Amazing imagery. Really cool imagery. They've done a fantastic job, so I'm really going to be looking forward to playing the next one in the next couple of days. I mean, it only took, half an hour to play that one. So I'm guessing the next episode is going to be about the same. But really cuckoo, really cool. Love the narrative throughout the fruition of the game. It was really cool. The characters are believable. You get to know their personalities throughout the game. The voice acting, superb, really good. Imagery, fantastic. It is like a graphic novel. It really is. It reminds me of Walking Dead. If you guys have seen that, those graphic novels. But yeah, let's give the other one a whirl. And see what that was like, and see what happens to this band of misfits in the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. It is greatly appreciated. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. Laters.